All right, now we are finishing with God's help the the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in Tovshin Nun Beis, and it was right in the beginning of the year 1992. And in it, the Rebbe is speaking about the future redemption, which is supposed to be any second, and the amazing revelations of the Creator and the creation that there's going to be, and how the whole entire world will be, first of all, free of evil and disease and death and war and anxiety and lacking, famine. All these things will be lacking. But even more important, there will be an amazing revelation of a commodity which is today of very little importance and value, even though it's the most important thing that can possibly be, and that is godliness. The Creator Himself, the Creator Himself will be revealed in the creation. Everything will become more alive. It's like the difference between a healthy person and a sick person, or a sleeping person and an awake person. Even more between a dead person and a live person. The whole world will realize was just sick or asleep or dead. Suddenly everything will come to be more alive, especially us included, especially us. And it'll be a great, tremendous joy just to be alive every instant. And we'll feel a tremendous responsibility to the world, because in a way that's the essence of life, is responsibility. To do something. We're here to do something, not just to receive something. Okay, so that's basically what the Moshiach is supposed to do and what he is going to do, and that the Rebbe of every generation is the Moshiach. And especially we can see this in the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he had all the criteria of Moshiach. He knew the whole entire Torah, and he was trying to influence as many Jews to go according to its laws and values and principles and guidelines of the Torah. In other words, the manufacturer's instructions. The Inyan, and now this we said before, especially as a connection to Yud Shvat. Yud Shvat, which is the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1950 he passed away, and 1 year afterwards, on the same date, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the present Lubavitcher Rebbe, took over. So that's Yud Shvat. Yud Shvat is the day of the passing away of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Mori Chami, my father-in-law, my teacher, Adonenu Morenu, our master, our teacher, our rabbi, the leader of our generation. It's the day that he passed away, especially this year. He passed away in Parshat Bo Aparo. In fact, and it was on this Shabbos that he passed away. In fact, he passed away on Shabbat. But this year it falls out to be on Wednesday, just like at the time when the Rebbe was speaking. This was on Shabbat. It's known that the day that a tzaddik passes away, as all of his deeds are gathered together, it's revealed everything and brings salvations into the world. Every single year, there's always added on the power of the Rebbe's soul. That's why we say Kaddish every year, in order to elevate the soul of the departed person. In our way, and the Yud Shvat, it was by the Hilula, but it was made by the previous Rebbe that he passed away on this date. He is the Moses of our generation. He is the representative Moses in every generation. Became what we said in our Torah portion, Boel Paro. What did we say that was God said to come to Paro? What did he mean? He meant that he was elevating Moses to the source of all being, including the source of all evil, the source of all creation, the reason for creation, the essence, revelation of God above any division, above the spiritual That was the power that God gave to Moses in order to not only take the Jews out of Egypt, but also eventually to bring the future redemption. It was supposed to be that the Jewish people were supposed to have left Egypt, gone into Israel, and almost immediately it was supposed to be the future redemption. The temple would be built and the temple would be eternal. And the world would have just been the way it was before Adam ate from the tree, even better. But we see that it didn't work. The people didn't listen to Moses, so we got the situation we have now. So that's what it means that God took Moses and he brought him into the source of Paro, an elevation which is incomparable. Hagila, the revelation of Baal Paro by the previous Rebbe, this idea of coming into Paro. The word Paro, of course, is the evil king, but Paro also means to be open, revealed. This was drawn below Pol Yeshua Bekir Avoritz. It affected everyone in his generation. And especially because, why? Because every single Jew has a little Moses inside of him. That's the essence of his Judaism. But especially in our generation, as the previous Rebbe said, that our generation is the last generation of exile and the first generation of the future redemption. That this generation is the, reincarnation of all the people that left Egypt. So if so, our generation, that's us, me and you, that we are actually reincarnations of those Jews that left Egypt and made all those troubles for Moses. And now we're here to rectify this, to fix this up. So that's the leader of our generation, Moses, and that he is the first redeemer and he's the last redeemer. We did this actually yesterday. And that's hinted at by the name of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. His name was Yosef Yitzchak. I'm skipping a little bit because we did this yesterday. His name was Yosef Yitzchak. Yosef means to add on, to increase, or to do again. He's going to again redeem the Jewish people, just like Moses did back then. There'll be another redemption of the Jewish people. How do we say so many times that Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, and Moshiach will take the Egypt out of the Jews, the selfishness out of the Jews? That's Yosef. And also Yitzchak means that there'll be joy. They'll be happy. People will be who they really are. Only more amazing is that the previous Rebbe, he suffered terribly. He suffered physically terribly. And to the point where there were things that he simply was not able to do. He couldn't speak to the people. From this, we understand even more how it is the same thing that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was the same thing as Moses. Moses also had a difficulty speaking. And nevertheless, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was always positive. He was always happy and caused others to be happy. This caused every single Jew and all of the Jewish people in his generation will also be able to receive, when a person is happy, he can receive these lights, revelations, new things. He's not closed up. Happiness is being open. They say that a person, if he's got enemies and there's people that he hates, but at his daughter's wedding, let's say he has a daughter it was very hard for him to marry her off, and he marries her off, a wonderful wedding, as the people come, it could be his worst enemies, he's happy to see them. He says, hello, how are you? Doesn't. In other words, he's able to accept everything. The same thing is also the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's what he wanted, that there should be a joy. Everyone should have a joy in just being alive, being connected to the Creator. Life is the connection to the Creator. And to use that life in order to serve the Creator, to return a little bit what we owe him, that's the great happiness. Without looking, notwithstanding the fact that by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he was in this revelation of Boel Paro, that he, in other words, he reached these highest levels of awareness of God and ability to transfer this realization to the Jewish people. But now the previous Rebbe, he's not in this physical world. Like we said before, so it's understood is only when there will be the revelation of the soul, this revelation when the soul is in the body, according to how it was when the previous Rebbe was alive. But it should be, again, it says we believe in the raising of the dead, even more. When the previous Rebbe was alive in this world, he suffered terrible pain. He came to America. He came to America in a wheelchair. He was paralyzed. This caused also on the spiritual things that he had. In the last years, he was something like Moses. He was covered pay. He couldn't speak, and this affected his ability to say over ideas of Judaism and say over ideas of Chassidut, to the point where even his doctors, was a big professor, which this is a high level of a doctor, he asked him, how can it be that what you're suffering, he asked the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, how could it be that your disease, I think he had Parkinson's as well, that this had an effect on your power of speech in such a way that you cannot do what you're supposed to in the world to speak. He said, this professor continued and said that you're the one that has made such an effort in spreading out Torah, spreading out Judaism, spreading out the secrets of Judaism. God should have given you the complete ability that you're able to continue doing this in the most great measure. In other words, I can understand that the previous Rebbe, he couldn't walk, that he couldn't write, he was paralyzed, but why couldn't he speak? His power of speech was tremendously impaired. It says that in the last years, the only person that could understand the previous Rebbe was the Rebbe, right? Was our Rebbe, the only one that could understand. It should have been that God wanted to take things away. Take whatever you want, but not the power of speech. And by means of his speech, he spread out Torah, he spread out Judaism. That was his whole life. He would say these Hasidic discourses, exactly the opposite. Because the Rebbe put so much energy and so much self-sacrifice into speaking properly the words of Torah, into advertising these wonderful, good, positive ideas. So it should have been that by him, it should have been more powers to speak than other regular people. If so, how could it possibly be, asked this doctor, that notwithstanding all this work that the Rebbe did and the effort that he put in through his mouth to speak and say good things, we can see exactly the opposite. That because he was sick, as his power of speech physically was affected. He couldn't even say Chassidut. Simply, we can say that it should be miut v'kamus haroy liot. Simply speaking, we can say that the Rebbe spoke a lot less than what was supposed to be. Right? There were people that were so deeply affected by what the Rebbe said. Now you have to understand that what the Rebbe is talking about over here, he's not, scaring people into being Jewish. If you don't do it, you're going to go to hell. The Rebbe was trying to arouse in every Jew first, also non-Jews, but Jew first, who they really are, their true identity. And this is a thing that has to come from inside, right? In other words, they wanted the person that he himself should realize what's how wonderful Judaism, how amazing the commandments are, but you have to feel it. To feel a thing like this, I can't feel Torah and the commandments because somebody else feels it. I have to be convinced somehow or other. I have to be awakened, if you want to call it. And the Rebbe did this with his speech, with his power of speech. So it should be that the power of his speech and the ability to say these ideas of Chassidut and spreading out Chassidut, it should be even stronger. Even though we can say, okay, listen, you can't ask questions about what God does, and especially what he does to the leader of the generation. Lo shayach, it can't say how we can't tell God how he should have done, and what he should not have done. God is creating us from nothing. He is the creator. He's the director and the producer. He enlivens us. He can do whatever he wants to. And not only that, whatever God does is always for the good. Everything that God does is always for the good. Why are we praying if everything is for the good? So then good, if people are sick, it's good. Why should we pray? we pray to say, God, listen, I agree, everything you do is for the good. But you're infinite. You can do this in a way that we also can appreciate it. We don't have to suffer. Why do this good, whatever it is that you want as a result from all this bad? Why do it in a bad way? You're infinite. You can do it in a good way. So who are we to tell God that it shouldn't have been that the previous Rebbe was paralyzed? Nevertheless, Kavah Kodesh Baruch Hu, at the say the way it is that God said, I only request from you what is in your ability, not what is in my ability. Right? If God wanted to say, you know where you get your arms and your legs from? You get them from me. Cut off your arms and your legs. If God wanted to, he could do it. He has every right. I mean, they belong to him. He's creating, but that doesn't do things like that. He only requests according to our ability. He doesn't want people to suffer. So why is there suffering? What's going on? He wants us to understand humanly and understand the goodness of God in a way that God is good. That's why we pray. Especially in our case, she'enzu shaila, this is no question of intellect of the doctor. Hayatach and shenasi ador, just simple, forget about the doctor asking a question. Me and you can ask, how can it be that the leader of the generation, that he cannot do the job that he's appointed to do, to lead the generation? He was paralyzed. Elazeh gam matim al pitora. And it's not just a question of a doctor. We can ask the question, and the Torah asks the question. Move on. That Moses said to God, God remembered the burning bush. He said, "Kavod Prev, kavod lashon anochi." I have a speech impediment, God. Ani aral savatayim. My lips are uncircumcised. In other words, they're all closed up. Therefore, he said, "Shalach no tishalach." And Moses said, "Physically, I can't do it. God, send somebody else." Moses said it to God. God said back to Moses, "Don't worry, I'll help you speak." And God, that wasn't enough. Moses still wasn't convinced. That Aaron will be for you and for a mouth. So it ended up that the reason, so to speak, that God made Moses with a speech impediment was in the end that Aaron would do the talking. Yishlomer, we can say, that which was by the previous Rebbe, this is something like what was by the Moses of our generation. he was the Moses, it was like it was by Moses. Because things have not been, the world is not yet perfected, therefore his speech was, so to speak, in exile. Moses himself was above the revelation. Remember, learn that mimer. That's why Moses couldn't speak. It said because he said that he was too high. He came from the world of Tohu. We learned a mimer about that. And God, nevertheless, he didn't heal him. When did God heal him? God just said, "I'll do a miracle just for you. I'll be with your mouth temporarily when you talk to Paro. You'll say the right things." But finally, it didn't work. He said, "Okay, you'll say the right things to Aaron. Okay, Aaron will do the talking." Really, how did it come about? It came by the completion of the fixing of the world, which is what the previous Rebbe wanted to do, which is what the Moshiach of every generation wants to do, to activate the Jews to heal the world. is in the power of the Bal Hilula. This is in the power, through the power of the previous Rebbe, is by us, souls and bodies, healthy souls, healthy bodies of our generation. Now this is the ninth generation, right, from the Baal Shem Tov. This is 9 generations. There was the Baal Shem Tov and the pupil of the Baal Shem Tov, and then the 7 Rebbes of Chabad. And this, our Rebbe, is the last. It's got the power to do what Aaron did. Just as Aaron was the spokesman for Moses, says the Rebbe, I am the spokesman for the previous Rebbe. I'm Aaron. By means of actual speaking in a way that the voice was heard, it says that in the house of Paro, B'shefa Rab, with a tremendous flow of words. The Rebbe spoke and wrote more than all the other Rebbes of Chabad, right? The volumes and volumes and volumes. And the Bali Lula. Until our generation, this is the door where this is the generation will actually happen. Like Moses said to God at the burning bush, why send me? And then in another few, you're going to have to send the Mashiach afterwards. Send Mashiach now. Our generation is the generation of the Mashiach Tzidkenu. He will reveal the pure, total revelation, like we said before. So the Rebbe essentially is what he's saying is the Rebbe here is announcing that he's the Mashiach. That the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, which he said very clearly is the Mashiach, he said it expressly. And he said explicitly, he said explicitly that the previous Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, is the Mashiach. And now the previous, now he's saying that just like Moses requested the actual Mashiach should come and redeem the Jewish people, said our generation is the one that the actual Mashiach is going to actually come and redeem the Jewish people. That is the extension of the previous Rebbe. Namely, that's me. That's what the Rebbe is saying. We can say, I mean, you don't really need the Rebbe to say this, because if you look in the Rambam, you see that the Rebbe simply has all the qualifications of Mashiach. Maybe somebody else does also. Could be. I don't know. I don't think they found anybody. There's nobody. Yesh Lom, we can say that this is also hinted in the letters of Miyad. Mashiach is supposed to come immediately. Miyad. That's Moshe, Miyad, Mem Moshe, Yisrael, the Baal Shem Tov, and Dalet, David, Malchut Mashiach, and the Mashiach. Shlemos Avod of Moshe, the completion of the Avod of the service of Moses, and the Baal Shem Tov was only to bring Mashiach, which includes all of our Rebbes, until the Rebbe of our generation, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and of course the Rebbe speaking on himself that he took the faith. This is David, the Mashiach, Shlach Nabiyat Shlach. This is the final work of the final Mashiach. That was the job that Moses began. The Baal Shem Tov really continued in a big way. And this was the Rambam, the Maimonides says that King David, he was the first Messiah, and we're waiting for the second Messiah. And he gives the criteria. The Yishlomar, we can say that this is also hinted at the fact that Yud Shvat on this year is on Wednesday, Yom Revi. That's the way it is this year also. Shabon Nitlo Mo'oros, that this is the day when God hung up the lights in heaven. Avobo B'Yom Nitlo Mo'oros, also in this day there was also Nitlo taken away. On Yom Revi, God made the sun and the moon, but God also took away. What does it mean? This was the day, Yud Shvat was the day of the passing away. Natal with a tuf means to be taken away. This is the day when the previous Rebbe passed away. 1 second, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. 1 minute. No, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Nitlu means to be taken away. Nitlu Amoris means to be taken away. But it was also the day Nitlu Amoris that they were put in. On, like I said before, the spelling is different. Nitlu means to hang up, to hang. And Nitlu means to be taken away. Right? To elevate, to take away, like Natilat Yadayim. On this day was the passing away. Nitlu was taken away, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, but in a way, not in a way that he was remained away. But Nitlu, what does it mean? Immediately Nitlu, that it was hung up, and it was revealed, like the sun and the moon were revealed on the fourth day. It says they were revealed, the two great lights, the sun and the moon. in a way that's Rebbe is saying that the previous Rebbe is the sun and that he's the moon. But in a way that's even higher, that by means that the previous Rebbe passed away, there was an elevation in even a higher level. And the word elevation, istalik, means to go away. Elevation goes away. But the word istalik also means to spread out, to be more revealed. Like it says, istalik yikoda, there was revealed the greatness of God in all the worlds. As haneshama, the soul, ishtakach b'kol yotem b'chayoi. Then when the previous Rebbe passed away, like with every tzaddik, it says that his presence is found more in this world than it was when he was alive. When he was alive, he was limited to his body, but his main effect was his soul. And now what did the previous Rebbe want? Just everybody should listen to what he said and buy his books. No, he wanted the people's souls to change, that they should have more love of God, more appreciation of the Creator, more they say, the interest and excitement in doing the Torah and doing the commandments, spiritual things. Well, this spiritual effect of the previous Rebbe, and with all the tzaddikim, is even more after they pass away, because they're not limited to their body. And even more, it's also by means of his pupils and his chassidim and his pupils that are attached to him. They're the ones that the spirit really affects. The Guvim, Kan Lamata below in the 9th generation, etc. Now we're the 9th, we said before. So this brings about also the Nitlo Amoris, that they're hung up, revealed, the lights of God, and there is spread out from it all of these revelations in the physical world. Okay, now this sounds a little bit fantastic, but this is the essence of Judaism. From this we can understand the novelty of our generation. The essence of Judaism is that God revealed himself to a whole entire nation, took them out of Egypt, amazing miracles, revealed himself, gave him the Torah. That's Judaism. Big, huge revelations of God and big, amazing changes that God changes in the physical world. From this we can understand our generation, it's been already a long time. We haven't seen anything similar to the revelation of going out of Egypt, and we will. But on the other hand, if you think about it for a minute, the Jews for the last 2,000 years at least have been living on total revealed miracles. The whole world is against us. 2,000 years. We've been spread out all over the world. We have 1,000 reasons to just leave Judaism totally and forget the whole thing. We have 1,000 people, philosophers and ideas and things that are trying to everything that they can to destroy and to weaken and to twist and to pervert and divert and negate Judaism. Jews and non-Jews as well. And to do anything that they can just to sort of dilute and to twist around Judaism. And nevertheless, here we are. Amazing. Physical enemies, spiritual enemies, emotional enemies, the problems of the world, the difficulties of the world, Holocaust with expulsions and pogroms, and here we're still holding on to Judaism. Most amazing thing in the world, if you think about it. It says that's the proof that God exists, that the Jews are like one sheep surrounded by 70 hungry wolves, and it's been the last 2,000 years this way, and we're still existing. And if you look at it closely, it's not for the last 2,000 years. It's since the Torah has been given, it's not been that way. Nevertheless, our generation, which is the 9th generation from the Baal Shem Tov, so that's the novelty of our generation. And the previous Lubavitcher's generation, since that the Geula Loba, since that the revelation, the redemption has not come yet. The goal of the Moshiach is that eventually the Holy Temple is going to come from above, and that depends on God. The Holy Temple is going to fall down, it says, from heaven. That's why it's going to. I mean, who would believe we would get out of Egypt? So we'll see it when it happens. The Holy Temple is going to fall down from heaven, and who cares, right? It's going to be a tourist attraction. The whole thing of the Holy Temple is there you can serve God. You can do exactly what God wants. Since that the future redemption has not come, so this idea of the revelation of Bo al Paro, the revelation of the essence of God in this physical world, was not completely in this physical world in a soul. That's because we see, especially we see even the previous Rebbe, that he was the Moshiach who was sick. And even more, he passed away. And also, when his soul was in his body, it was that he couldn't speak. Nevertheless, our generation, this is the last generation of the exile and the first generation of the redemption, will be immediately. Our generation, says the Rebbe, Nitlo Amoris will be hung up, revealed, the lights. Shalozu Bilavad, not only that, they won't be missing anything in the revelation of the Torah, the written Torah and the oral Torah, but exactly the opposite. They'll be added on higher and higher revelations, not in a way like it was Kavod Peh B'Raisa, that you couldn't reveal all of the secrets. There were so many questions remaining in the oral Torah and in the written Torah. Because why? Because Moses was too high, couldn't reveal these secrets. That in physical bodies and physical souls in the world will be able to receive in an internal, personal way all these big lights of God. It says when God gave the Torah, the Jewish people couldn't take it. That's what it means, nitla ma'oros. In this case, the written Torah and the oral Torah will see the true holiness of every word. And by the means of this, immediately, the Moshiach will fulfill what Moses said at the burning bush, send the Moshiach now. He'll teach Torah to all the people until there'll be what says as a new Torah. The Torah will be alive, vibrant. They won't be able to stand up all these other religions and twist the Torah and pervert the Torah and say the Torah this supports them and the idolatry. The Kolador is this, then will elevate all the generations that were before it. And by means of this, it says, by means of this, that all of the dead people will wake up and sing. It says, and the first one of them will be the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's the revelation, the novelty of our generation in regarding to all the generations that were before. Right? The Jewish people received the Torah 3,330, whatever is 4 years ago. Every generation of Jews has been doing the Torah. There have been great generations when the Torah was given, when there was a holy temple. Our generation is the last one. Our generation is going to be the one that we're going to make all these promises real. We can see, in fact, that our generation, in addition to the fact that it's totally different than all the generations before that, as far as Torah, spreading out Torah and Judaism and spreading out the wellsprings of Judaism with a tremendous flow of ideas. I mean, the previous generation, people didn't know what Chassidut even is. And now it's being taught all over the place, especially on the internet, on Zoom. You can look up wonderful rabbis. Until the ideas of Chassidut are spread out to the furthest corners of the world. And the world, therefore, now is a vessel, a waiting and a ready, prepared vessel to receive the highest lights of Judaism, the highest lights of the Creator, the highest lights of the Torah. Whether we're talking about the Jewish people, Bnei Yisrael, by means of the 613 commandments, or whether by the non-Jews, which is spreading out what's called the 7 Noahide commandments. 7 commandments. Kach also that we can illuminate the whole entire world. Ner mitzvah v'torah or. That the commandments are like a lamp, and the Torah is the light from the lamp. In a way, in a way that the light that comes out is the light of godliness that's never been revealed before. The source of the Torah. That every single human being will be able to receive this light of the Torah in a healthy body and a healthy soul. Until we see that actually, and we spoke about this many times, that the non-Jews in many, many nations are actually helping the Jewish people in their service. And even more than it wasn't going out of Egypt. Remember this is the Rebbe said in 1992, this was when first of all, the Russia said that anybody who wants to can leave. That was when the what's his name, Gorbachev, he just simply dissolved communism. No more communism, and anybody can leave Russia. Doors are open. Jews could leave. You can come back in. A whole new thing. Not only that, that was when Saddam Hussein, certainly there before, he shot like 39 missiles, very, very powerful, huge missiles into Israel. Each one had like tons of explosives. And America and the other nations helped Israel. They said, don't fight. You don't fight. We'll do it for you. And they fought for us. Even in Russia, that used to be closed for so many years, and they didn't let Jews go out, and they didn't even permit them to do Torah and commandments in an open way. Lately, we see everything has been changed from one end to the other. Not only that our Jews are allowed to do what they want, they even allow the Jews to go out from there. And even more, they help them to leave. Now it's even more. There's Chabad houses in Russia. Until we see now actually that in addition to this, the Jewish people says they're all prepared, all of them, for the future redemption. Also the non-Jews, they're also ready for the future redemption. The Jewish people have all gone out from exile and have come to the Holy Land with a true redemption in the world. I mean, one of the big impediments to this whole thing is the Israeli government and the Israeli attitude. And I mean, the Israeli government, and lets all these missionaries come in and all these weird, situations, these bizarre parades and, of decadence and things like that. Okay, now they're talking about positive things, but if the Israeli government would just change, and that could be in one instant, because after all, they are Jews. And after all, every Jew does want to do Torah and the commandments. If they would just, adapt their true Jewish identity and tell the whole world that, listen, there's God, and the God gave the Torah, and the missionaries and these people have to leave. And people that don't, non-Jew that doesn't keep the 7 Noahide commandments, I'm sorry, he can't stay here. You just can't stay. And then the 7 Noahide commandments, the first of them is you can't believe in anything except for God, the creator of the universe. As soon as that happened, it would change the whole entire world. The whole world would. In any case, God knows what he's doing, and that the whole world is ready for the redemption, souls and bodies, without any stopping at all. Immediately, the whole world will be filled with Boel Paro, comment to Paro, the true redemption, which a redemption, and there will be revealed all these lights. And God will be to us for a light forever. Okay, really, there's actually 4 more paragraphs in this, and they're really very beautiful. But of course, we can't do it. We ran out of time. So what I think we'll do is next week, we'll start from 14. And we'll try to complete this, because it's very, very beautiful. And it's also very relevant, right? It's also very relevant. Next week is the splitting of we read about the splitting of the Yam Suf, Yam Suf, the Red Sea, and the Jewish people going out, and the song they sang at the Yam Suf, which we'll talk about, God willing, next week. But I think we'll start off with this, and because it's talking about the how the future redemption is already here, and it's very, very encouraging and very positive and very, embracing, all embracing, right? There's no mention of any sort of punishments or difficulties or negative things that are going to happen, because they're not going to happen. They're not going to happen. Everybody will simply be able to accept the fact. We say in Aleinu 3 times a day, Yifnu elecha kol rish'ei aretz, even the evil people of the world will all turn to the Creator. All right, let's do the Yom Yom for today and for tomorrow. Yom Yom. One must say words of Torah, saying Tehillim by heart, reviewing Mishnah whenever possible, or just to read the words, in order to increase the revelation of God and the existence of the world. And this also saves us from all of the tribulations that happen after a person dies. There's what's called the shaking of the grave and the slingshot that the soul is shot, and not talk about negative things. But if you learn Torah, it eliminates all these negative experiences that accompany death. A person dies, everybody dies. What can we do? It says that there's all sorts of shaking up. The soul really gets shaken up, and then will merit the highest revelations. That was yesterday. Let's see, 1 second. Oh, this is tomorrow. My father wrote, this is the previous Rebbe writing, so he's talking about the fifth Rebbe of Chabad. The fifth Rebbe of Chabad was the father of the previous Lubavitcher. He wrote that he heard in the name of the first Rebbe of Chabad that all of the rabbinic authors, including the Shach and the Taz, they lived like, Shach and the Taz, they lived like 300 years ago. Shach and the Taz. Give me a moment. Yes. And they lived like, 400 years ago, the Shach and the Taz. They were, Shach is the Sifsei Kohen, and the Taz, the Turizov. They wrote the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch, especially in Yeridea. They all correspond, they composed all their works with Ruach HaKodesh, the divine spirit. An individual's Ruach HaKodesh is explained by the Korban HaTodah and this Shkalim. So they were like 400 years ago, right? That's when they were, 400 years ago. This means the mysteries of the Torah are revealed to him. This comes from the aspect of Chachma, and in other words, the Rebbe is explaining that all of the commentaries that are written on the Torah up to even 400 years ago, and actually even after that, because this is the first Rebbe of Chabad, he came very shortly after these people, and he certainly wrote with Ruach HaKodesh, with divine inspiration. But nevertheless, all of these opinions that you see written in the Talmud and in the Shulchan Aruch, the Talmud for sure, and the commentaries on the Talmud and the Shulchan Aruch, all these people, they wrote with pure divine inspiration. So you should know that when we're reading these words, we're reading the words of God. Have a good Shabbat with Moshiach now. This is the Shabbat, which is a preparation for Yud Shvat, which is going to be next Wednesday. Yud Shvat is the day passing of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1950, and the assuming of the leadership of Chabad the year thereafter. Have a good Shabbos, everybody. See you on Sunday, 8:15.